Hello, and welcome back to Health and Wealth. I'm Ana Ramos, and I'm really glad you're here. Today's conversation comes from a place of urgency. Not urgency in the sense of rushing or forcing clarity, but urgency because there are moments in life that we're alive. And when we speak to them in real time, they land differently. So many of us are standing at the edge of something right now. Perhaps it's a new role, or a new chapter, or deeper visibility. A decision we know matters, but haven't quite stepped into it yet. We tell ourselves we're waiting to feel ready, more confident, more certain, more settled. But what if that readiness never comes before the movement? My guest today, Scout Cheeks, is living inside that exact tension. She's not speaking from hindsight or arrival. She's in the middle of transition, navigating new professional chapters, increased visibility, and the internal resistance that often accompanies growth. What makes this conversation so timely isn't that Scout has all the answers. It's that she's willing to speak honestly about what it feels like to move forward without them. Together, we explore the quiet ways fear disguises itself as logic, why waiting can feel responsible while quietly keeping us out of our alignment, and sometimes how timing isn't always something we think of our way into. Sometimes it's something we feel first, throughout our body and our values. This episode is not about being fearless. It's about recognizing when something keeps tapping you on the shoulder. Not because you're ready, but because the timing is alive now. If you've been telling yourself, I'll do it when I feel ready, this conversation is for you. So take a breath, settle in, and let's talk about what happens when you stop waiting for readiness and begin moving anyways. Scout, thank you so much for joining us to our Health and Wealth podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here, even though you're sitting all the way in Washington, D.C. and not here in Mexico City with me.
Stop. I'm jealous. Stop.
But I'm hoping that one of these days I can get you here in person. But, between your athletic career and your personal career, I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to get a sliver, but I promise you I will get a sliver in there.
Absolutely. We're going to figure it out. But yes, girl, it's a struggle.
I love it. But, talking a little bit of struggle, because, today what I wanted the conversation to be about is, do we wait in life to be ready to make every move, or do we just take the shot? We align as much as we can, and we take a shot. So that's what I want us to talk a little bit about today. And it's very interesting, Scott, because I actually have ended up speaking with more athletes in these conversations than ever. And then I'm like, as I'm starting to reflect, I'm like, why is it that I align so much with athletes? And I think that this conversation is going to be a real reason the why I align a lot with athletes, because it's a mindset. It's how their mind works. So, through the work that we've done together, Scout, I know that we talked a lot about balancing, and the word out there, the key word is, I want to balance my life, balance my career, balance this. And I love how you rolled your eyes, because that's exactly what it is. I roll my eyes when I hear the word balance. There's no such thing in life. There is no such thing as balance. But what I do talk about is harmony, right? Because I think that when we embrace the word harmony, we're embracing the ups, the downs, the twists, everything that can happen. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens in our lives, we learn to create the harmony, the flow into us living our own, a full life, a life that is true to us, and a life that is true to our values. So tell us a little bit about your professional rugby career, which I find absolutely astonishing, amazing. One of these days I have to go see you play live. And in a demanding career, I mean, you're not someone who's just sits behind and has a little career. You have a big career. You're young and you're successful and you're beautiful and you've gone to Penn State and you have all these beautiful accolades and you're working in a field that I don't even know if I can say it, but it is a very secure field. And all I know is that you got the best security clearance and more coming your way. So tell us a little bit about How do you create harmony between these two worlds? And tell us a little bit what's similar about them and what's different about them.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for the introduction. Again, thank you. I am so excited to be here, but I'm always excited to talk to you, Anna. Always. Even if we're just
Oh,
talking business, I'm excited to talk to you. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, in that balance, it's sort of like a figment of our imagination, right? But harmony, I love how you touched on that harmony piece, because that's essentially what I strive for. And I found myself previously, I would always be like seeking out that balance between my sort of 9 to 5 conventional career and then my career as an athlete. And I find that at certain points, at certain seasons, certain months, weeks, certain things require more, they're prioritized more or less. For example, there may be certain months where my athletic career is getting more of my time, attention, energy. And then when I'm in the off season, more of my sort of 9 to 5 career is getting more of my time, energy, so on and so forth. So I found that to find harmony, I really just need to sort of stick by what are the things that need done most immediately, right? What's at the top of the list? Like, what do I need to get done by the end of the week, by the end of the day, so on and so forth? What things are in the pipeline so that I know what to prioritize? And then I sort of adjust from there, so to speak. I fill things in certain slots so that I am, one, achieving my goals for both my 9 to 5 career as well as my athletic career. But I'm also making sure that I'm taking care of myself, my body, because in order to be able to actually do these things, I have to be functioning individually, right? And ideally, I'm functioning at my best self. So it's been, it's sort of, I would say the grind never stops. Maybe that's just the athlete mindset, but it literally never stops in finding that harmony. Fortunately and unfortunately, the only reason I say unfortunately is because it does become like you have to be on top of your stuff, right? Time passes by. You have to sort of implement effective time management. You also have to understand what your value system is, or I could speak for myself, like what are my values right now? What are my most immediate short-term, mid-term, long-term goals? And how ultimately am I going to get there? So it's a constant battle, but we do it. Oh, and then you also asked the question, what are some of the similarities and differences between the two? I think that's a great question. I think so. Right now, I am working in a space that I guess you could call it more like tech sales space. So I'm interacting with customers, I'm interacting with both technical and non-technical people. And ultimately, the job is to align different customers to the solutions, but also, of course, to sort of drive things forward for my particular company and business, right? So with that, when I'm talking to people looking to close a deal, so on and so forth, it's very similar to rugby in that way, where you have to sort of put yourself out there. You have to align yourself to ultimately what is the best path, or what's the path of least resistance that's ultimately going to get me to the outcome that I'm looking for. And then you just have to go for it, like relentlessly. You might get no's, like in my 9 to 5, I get no's, I get rejections, but that doesn't stop me. I just keep moving forward. In the same way, how when I'm on the rugby pitch, I may have the ball, someone is trying to tackle me, but I'm continuing to run and pump my legs and pump my legs. They are actively trying to bring me down with the resistance, but I'm continuing to move forward regardless of if somebody is trying to stop me. So definitely a lot of similarities between the two for sure.
And I love that because basically what you're saying is that you got to keep moving. You got to keep moving.
That's
You
it.
got to be. You got to keep aligning, and at the end of the day, you have to connect to your value system. Like what's right for me. And you recently had an experience, because I know we talked at length about it, where you actually were offered a job all the way going to London, and I was like, oh, great! Now I get to visit you in London, you know. But it was you actually going across the pond, as we used to say it, because I was working with a British company, and their offices were, in London, the main offices. So we were always like crossing the pond. So you were about to cross the pond, and it was like a 3 month, if I remember correctly, it was like a 3 month dating basically that took place, and a lot of work, a lot of effort, just like dating, right? At the very beginning, the romanticized idea and everything that, oh, okay, is this aligning? Is this not? And then it came a very critical point where it just didn't feel right. It wasn't aligned with your value system. Talk to us how that felt, and how did you come to the understanding that even though monetarily it was absolutely the most amazing thing that happened in your young career, from a value perspective, it just didn't fit right?
Right.
Talk to
Yep.
us how that felt. How did you identify that? And what did it take to say no to something like that?
Yeah, so ultimately, just a bit of context. Yes, it was for, so I was making a pivot in my career, and it was for a role that I was going for. I knew I wanted to make this pivot from data scientist to this particular field. I was super excited. I was going for it. The recruiters reached out to me. This sort of like this opportunity sort of fell into my lap. It was exactly within the specific sector, the specific industry that I wanted. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And the athlete in me, the go-getter in me, the ambitious person in me, I'm like, let me lock this down. Let me do everything, control the controllables, right? That's something that I often say. Let me control the controllables, be as prepared as I possibly can. Each and every single interview, I'm nailing. Let me make sure I do what I can do to secure this position, because not only was it sort of life-changing in terms of my career trajectory, but also just from like a financial level, this was it's pretty life-changing money that we're talking about here, right? So um it was actually closer to 4 months, not even three. 4 months in an interview cycle is absolutely insane. We could talk about that. That's an entirely different story. But I met with CEO, CFO, field engineers, the entire engineering team, everyone that you can imagine. I met with them, and it was so piecemeal and just non-streamlined. So that's sort of strike one, where I had to continuously meet with people. It wasn't just like four stages of an interview and then you're done. Oh, we want you to meet with this person. We want you to meet with this person. I probably talked to over 10 people throughout this entire process. Mind you, I still have a full-time job, still have my rugby career, my athletic career, everything else that I'm balancing while in sort of like a contender for this position, right? So I'm going through it. Every single position, it was very successful, even like from the recruiter's perspective. They loved me. They were happy with me as a candidate. Everyone that I was meeting with in the company was happy with me, so on and so forth. I was sort of a quote unquote shoo-in. Now, I'm so glad that it was successful. However, on my end, on a personal level, I was going through it, Anna. I was stressed out. I was not sleeping. I was not eating. And what I was eating, it was not in alignment with sort of my values of like what I actually put into my body, because it was like, I just need to study a little longer. I need to prep a little longer for this. Let me just get something quick. Like, and I like to eat healthy. And I was not eating healthy. I wasn't moving my body as often because I was like, oh, I can't. I just need to do a little bit more of this. I can't really take that hour and a half in the gym. I just need to focus on studying. I was sitting more than ever, which we know is not good for your body. It just all around wasn't good. And my nervous system was absolutely shot. I had so much anxiety. It was just all around not good from a physical, mental, and emotional health perspective. It wasn't good for me. But the unfortunate part was that it was successful in terms of like me actually getting the job offer. So things were quote unquote paying off on that end. Anyways, sort of to make a long story short, I did end up ultimately getting the job. Um, Fast forward to I didn't ultimately take the job. Some things transpired. I didn't ultimately take it. And at the time when that happened and sort of everything sort of unveiled itself, I was honestly distraught. I definitely cried once, twice, maybe three times. But it was more so just mourning the what could have been, like the money that was attached to it, sort of like the career status that was attached to it, but also just the sheer time and energy that was invested into it. That's what I was mourning. It was tough. But what I sort of remembered once I wiped my tears away, I gave myself like a 48-hour period. Like, Scout, you're gonna cry this out, whatever, do whatever you need to do, boo-hoo, da 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 da. 48
Not
hours.
49, but 48 hours. I
Yeah,
got it.
but
Because
48.
I know you're very structured. I love that.
Yes. And then we move on. And then we pick up our stuff and move on. And that's precisely what I did. And you know why? Because I know I know what I am. I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know that any company that has me should be happy to have me, quite frankly. I know that I'm valuable as an employee. I know that I'm valuable just as a friend. So I know that that was that company's loss, essentially. And I know that there's something better out there for me because I am a firm believer that when God closes one door, he opens another. And that just was not the door for me to walk into. For whatever reason, it was kind of sucky at the time because it's like, God, you had me do all this stuff for 4 months and here I am, we get to the day and I'm not walking through that door. But it all plays out, it unveils itself. And if anything, it helped me to recognize my value even more because it's like if you're telling me that I'm capable to make that amount of money, oh, the sky's the limit now. You ain't said nothing but a word. Now I already know.
You were like, this is the ceiling. This is way beyond. This is the sky. This is the moon. Like, I know what I can get to.
Exactly. And here we are now. So in short, sort of to wrap this up, it's all about knowing yourself, knowing that things are non-linear. Things aren't always going to work out as you expected, but you're still going to move forward. And at the end of the day, the chips are going to fall into place as they may. And you're going to end up exactly where you need to be for that season, for that period of time, regardless.
I think that's so beautifully said, because sometimes it's our own willpower, and I'm guilty of that as well, right? It's like I want it this way because I want it this way, and I'm going to fight through it no matter what. Whether my nervous system gets shut down, whether I have to cry every night or every morning, I'm going to get through that, right? I'm going to get through that end point, and then it comes to a point in our lives that I think that as we experience life, we come to the realization that life has a deeper meaning than that, right? Life and that's where the word, we took wealth being or we took well-being and we converted it into wealth being because we're adding the whole money component into the idea of living this beautiful life that is aligned to our value system, is aligned to the things we want to be able to achieve. Tell me a little bit, because not too many, a woman, professional rugby, you're Black American, right?
Yeah.
Like this is just not the trajectory, right? Tell us, how did you step into it? How did it feel? And then what I want to know more important is, how did your season of rugby, your athleticism prepared you for what you just went through?
Yeah. So how did I step in, just to clarify, how did I step into rugby?
Yes.
Okay. It was at this point several years back now. I was sort of babysitting these farm kids, as I call them, because they owned acres and their family owned acres and acres of land. They had goats, chickens, all types of animals. And me just loving to be active, be outdoors. I would say, hey guys, we're not watching TV all day. We're going to go outside. We're going to run around. We're going to have a blast, right? So we would just be outside for hours until their parents came home running around, playing hide and seek, soccer, basketball, what have you. And one time we were outside and I saw this weird shaped ball on the ground. And I asked the little boy, I'm like, Charlie Joe, what is that weird shaped ball that's on the ground? What is that I see you playing with? He's like, it's rugby. And I was like, what is rugby? And then ever since there, he told me about rugby. He's like, you can run and hit people. And and the minute he said you can hit people, I said, sign me up. That is exactly where I need to be.
Oh, I love that. I love that story.
Exactly. And then from there, things have just moved up. I was able to walk on to Penn State's D1 team, got named All-American my first season playing. And from there, it's just been onward and upward. So I am so blessed. Rugby has taken me all over the world. I've played in several different countries. I've gotten to meet so many different people. Japan, Australia, Brazil. I have been all over the world playing rugby. So I'm just so blessed and fortunate. And then to answer the second piece of your question, sort of how has this prepared me for this season that I just went through and in the seasons to come, right? I am a natural competitor. I'm an athlete. I'm an athlete, absolutely, but I'm a natural competitor regardless. And the competition isn't even necessarily me against someone else. It is always, Scout, how can you improve the person that you were last year? How can you improve your situation from last month? What do we need to do again to continue moving forward? But also, of course, I want to be better than people because duh. So I also am just a competitor all the way
A
around.
competitive edge.
Yes. Um, so I think with that, it is always having this growth mindset of how can I improve my situation? How can I improve myself? Even if if I'm talking sort of rugby, it's like, how can I improve my pass to push it a little bit further? So I'm making that sort of 30-meter pass as opposed to a 20-meter pass. How can I get lower in my tackle so when a 250-pound woman is running at me, I can grab their legs, chop tackle them, and they come immediately to the ground, and I'm not holding on for dear life. It's like, how do I improve my skill set on the rugby field? How can I improve my IQ? Do I need to watch more game films, so on and so forth? Just always looking to improve. And then I think that translates in my, I guess you could say my 9 to 5, which I wish I had a different term for that at the moment, because I would love to free myself from the 9 to 5 at some point. But anyways, in my sort of like office space or environment, it prepares me in the way that, as I mentioned previously, regardless if you're experiencing rejection, regardless if your boss comes back and gives you a bit of feedback on ways to improve that particular how you handled yourself in that meeting, or how you could improve this particular workflow. You don't take offense to that, because I have this growth mindset. And as a competitor, I'm always looking to improve. I don't take offense to any of that sort of feedback that you get in the office, or those various like dynamics of corporate America, because at the end of the day, it's just like, all right, like I'll take that on the chin. If there's something valuable to take from that, I'll take it. You sort of have to use discernment, and then you just, again, continue to move forward. So I think that it prepared me to just be able to handle the rejections that come with the day-to-day work. It allowed me to be a high performer. So when I am in front of various clients like CEO, CFO, so on and so forth, I'm not new to being able to operate at a high level, right? I don't get so flustered to where I'm stumbling over my words, because I've also played in stadiums with over 10,000 people. You know what I mean? It essentially just prepares me for whatever is coming forward.
How do you, like, let's say somebody's listening, it's like, wow, I love everything she has to say. And you've been so successful from an athletic perspective, from a career perspective. And like you said, the moon is the limit, because no, the sun is the limit at this point, you know?
Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself? So somebody's listening, it's like, wow, she's got it all together. But it didn't come just easy, right? It comes with a lot of work, a lot of headaches, a lot of training, a lot of like early mornings, late
Yeah.
nights. How
Yes.
do you prepare yourself to be able to be at this point in your life where you are able to accept the criticism? You are able to, take, I used to go to events all time. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, that speaker had nothing to say, like nothing that added value to me. And somebody once said to me, Anna, you don't have to take everything from them. Like not everything has to be, you just got to take one thing back, right? So how would you suggest, or how did you prepare yourself to be able to accept all that, especially in the world today, right? Where everything is like, we take personal offense to everything nowadays, right? How do we prepare ourselves so that we don't take the personal offense? We take the growth. We accomplish that growth mindset that you said that you embrace.
Yeah. I think there are two pieces to that. One, know thyself, which I feel like everyone says that at that point, but truly, that is the key. You have to know yourself better than anyone else. So if you have there's constructive criticism, there's constructive feedback, but there's also negative feedback where you have people out there trying to tear you down. You also have people who are envious of you and are trying to sort of like find a way to find your vulnerabilities, right? But when you know yourself, that negativity is going to bounce right off of you, right? Because it's like that doesn't even align with who I am as a person. So don't know what to tell you. Um, when I say know yourself, I like to sort of look at myself holistically, like mind, body, soul, spirit. So I literally, like when I'm mapping out my goals, I have like physical goals, I have athletic goals, I have financial goals, I have sort of emotional well-being goals, and then I also have if I haven't said it, financial goals. So like I'm looking at my entire being holistically, and how can I not only improve, but also how can I sort of dig deeper and get a better understanding of who even Scout is in those various facets, if that makes sense. And that just once you have a better sense of that, and it's a constant relationship with yourself because we're always changing, we're always growing, we're always evolving. So who you are even last year isn't the same person as who you are today. Um, but once you have a better understanding of that, sort of the various things that the world throws at you, you become slightly more defensible, if that makes sense, because you're it's not able to penetrate you in the same way because you know your values, you know who you are. So that negative thing that that person said, as I mentioned previously, that doesn't even line to the person you are. And then the second piece to that is also being prepared to, and I say that sort of like to an extent because we're not going to be prepared for everything, but also you do have a responsibility for the things that you care about in life. Do your homework, do your research, sort of do the things that you need to do. So when you're walking into a room, you're walking into a room prepared. When I'm meeting with a client, I've already done a bit of background on not only them, but their company, sort of like perhaps where they might have went to school, some things that they're dealing with that have been in the media recently. I'm stepping into it so that I'm not blindsided and that I can show up and sort of present my best foot forward, so that I can just be ready. And part of that goes back to my identity because I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman at that. I'm also younger than a lot of the people that I work with. So I already know that I have several things sort of quote unquote working against me. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, that sort of propels me to have to work three times as hard to make sure that I'm three times as ready as the person next to me.
I think you said that so beautifully because it's so interesting. I've never, and this is probably the way my parents brought me up. It's like I've never looked at the color of a person or where they come from or anything. I'm looking at the deeper soul, like I'm looking at their soul, like who are they as individuals, right?
Right.
And that is one of the things that connected me the most to you. I love you as a person, Scout. You're absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
And it's no question in my mind that everything you share with us so far today, it's why you're able to not just perform in high performance environments, but actually able to thrive. Because I think that you look at your environments as a place of what lesson am I going to bring this in? And how is this lesson going to continue to help me align with my values?
Absolutely.
And before we go into biohacks, because that's like my favorite thing, I love to do biohacks, not medical. I always say that they're not medical, you know. I like life biohacks. So before we get into that, I'm going to touch on one little thing that I know you and I spoke about.
Mhm.
How do you manage? Because this is a prevalent thing right now, right? We like several guests. We talked a little bit about the image we give in the social media versus how our lives really are, right? Versus what we portray it to be. You are in a highly visible environment, both from a athletic perspective and also to some degree on the business side. I mean, we really haven't touched about it, but the level of clearance that you have, because it's not just any company you're working with, right? I mean, you're working with heavy duty hitters. And so how do you manage visibility? Because I know that's one of the things we talked about. We talked about not having that 9 to 5 job. So taking who you are as a person, and are we able to create additional revenue sources so eventually we can come off that 9 to 5? How do you handle visibility in what you want the world to see versus who Scout is? And I know that's deep, so I'm sorry, but I think if I can ask that question to anybody, is you. So I'm asking it.
Yeah, that's a tough question because it's something that I am actively trying to figure out as we speak here. And part of the reason why I say I'm trying to figure it out is because, and you and I talked about this sort of offline, but so many people have told me, but I'm also feeling more and more drawn to it of like, Scott, you need to get out there more. You need to put yourself out there more. Like, you need to start posting on social media. Like, people want to know about you. People see you sort of crushing it on the rugby field or so on and so forth, but we don't actually know much about you, and we would love to. And it would always go in like one ear, not the other for me, to be completely honest, because I do consider myself a pretty private person. I really only like to sort of share information that I want to share and on my own time. But I am feeling more drawn lately to put myself out there a bit more because I know with more visibility comes more opportunity. So maybe it's for selfish reasons, but I do recognize that. And that opportunity could be more on the sort of like financial side. It could also just be new and different life experiences altogether. So to answer your question about how to handle that, it's still a work in progress, but from talking with you and talking with other people, it's just about sharing, sort of like creating your own story and operating off of that story or that quote unquote persona. But of course, like in my situation, when I say persona, whatever that persona is, it's still going to be authentic to me. So I don't really see myself in the business of creating some sort of like facade or fake person for the purposes of social media. It would still be absolutely me. But when I say that, it's like I still want to protect my own life and the people and the things that are important and valuable to me. So I definitely do want to have a bit of privacy there, but I think for me it's just deciding what is it that I want to share with people? What is it that I want people to know about me? What stories, what experiences do I want to sort of like share and build community with in that regard? And then go from there. So as of right now, that is how I am handling visibility. But again, I think that this will end up changing as I become more visible, as I put myself out there a bit more. So we'll
Well, I
see.
think, when we think back of everything that you've been through, it's about how you handle discomfort, right? And you're someone who, no pun intended, you just tackle it, right?
Yeah, that was a good one. I
You just
like
tackle
that.
it, girl. You just go for it. So thank you so much for putting yourself out there, for sharing, for being vulnerable, Scout, because I think that's part of authenticity. And that's something that I had to learn, right? Because I was supposed to be this perfect girl, this perfect preacher's girl. Everything goes fine. And we are like God creatures and all this stuff.
Yeah,
But within that, there's a true soul behind it, right? There is somebody who has passions, ambitions, experiences that nobody can live but me.
yeah,
And it's something I had to learn, and I love the fact that you share that as well, because that openness, I think, is what connects us as human beings, and I think this world just needs a little bit more of that in today's
I
world.
agree. I absolutely agree.
Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. Biohacks, girl. You
Okay.
are welcome. I'm not even going to guide you on anything. But if anything, here's the thing I've learned from knowing you, from working with you, is that just go for it. Just go for it. Don't wait until everything is super clear, until everything is ready. You just go for it. So feel free to share. At least I need 3 biohacks, girl. I need them because, we as human beings, we want to take action now. Some of us don't, but when we take action, we want the results like yesterday. So share with us. What are 3 biohacks that come to mind that have served you well?
Okay, okay, okay. Oh, this is tough. Okay, a few things. One, I operate by the motto, you only live once. So, and you truly only live once. So just go for it, literally, because life's too short to be a square. Life is too short to just sit in your house all day cooped up. Like there is so much world to see. Get out there and see it, girl or guy or whoever's listening to this. So that's one piece. Second piece is, and this is sort of the caveat. It's not a caveat, it's sort of like living harmoniously with it. Yes, go for it, but also do your due diligence in being prepared. So prepare, do your homework, do your research, read up, shake whatever hand you need to shake, get in front of whoever you need to get in front of. But then once you gather that information, go for it. Stop thinking too much. Let the pieces fall into place as they may, but make sure that you're doing your job to sort of get forward and get there. And then I think the last thing is, sorry, this is just a bunch of slogans. control the controllables. So that sort of goes back to what I just said. Like certain things are out of our control. Certain things we are not going to be able to manage. We're not going to be able to handle. And that's just the way that life is. Do the things that you can do and then let the rest fall into place. Control the
I
controllables.
love that.
You only live once. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that was three.
You know what? I think that was perfect. I think it's such a beautiful way to wrap this up. And actually, it's rugby for you.
True, true.
So I think that, meeting that little boy, by the way, I have a feeling I know why the parents loved you so much to babysit, because once they got home, they were so exhausted from playing with
Yeah.
Scout that they were like, Mommy, we're done. What do you want us to do? We want to go to sleep. I think that's a parent's dream, that the kids, they don't have to fight them to go to sleep. So I'm sure
Probably.
that to this day, they might still want you to go babysit for them.
Right.
So, but Scott, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing with us, for just being vulnerable and sharing that vulnerability with us. And I love that, because health. When I created this podcast, it's about that. It's like, how do we live this beautiful, harmonious life where we take a look at our health, our career, our finances, our relationships, our personal growth, and everything in life is gonna have ebbs and flows. There's no such thing as a straight path. There's no such thing as everything perfectly balanced. But I think it's the harmony that we create within it, and just go for it. I think that's probably, just like Nike says, just do it. I think Scout is gonna go for it.
Yep, just do it. Absolutely. And thank you, Anna. Honestly, I was sitting here thinking, had I not been vulnerable with you and we started chatting, we wouldn't even have been here right now, right? So it all works as it should be. That's going back to that harmony piece. So thank you for having me. Thank you for even the opportunity to be able to share my story. Thank you for seeing something in me. And yeah, I just appreciate the person that you are, and also what you've built here. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you. Next time, Mexico City, or you can always meet me in Miami as I'm heading back over there.
I'm going to meet you in Mexico City. Let's get out of the country.
I love it. Let's do it, girl. I'll see you
Thank
soon,
you.
darling. Thank you so much. Thank you, Scout.
Bye.
Bye. What a conversation this was. When we talk about readiness, we usually frame it as something we're missing, something we need to build or achieve before we move. But this conversation invites a different lens. Sometimes the signal isn't more confidence or more certainty. Sometimes it's the feeling that staying where you are is starting to cost you something. Perhaps it's energy, honesty, or even alignment, even if everything looks fine from the outside. What Scout reminds us is that discomfort isn't the problem. Discomfort is actually part of the growth. The real question is whether that discomfort is expanding you or quietly asking you to abandon yourself. This episode isn't about pushing through at all costs. It's about learning to listen, to notice when fear is asking for courage and when your body is asking for truth. Waiting isn't always passive, and movement isn't always brave. The work is learning when each is being asked of you. If there's one thing I hope you take from this conversation, is this: misalignment is information, not failure. And clarity often comes not from waiting to feel ready, but from responding honestly to what no longer fits. May this be permission to stop rushing yourself towards certainty, and instead trust your capacity to recognize what's ready to move and what's ready to be released. Until next time, this is Health and Wealth.